Hey guys, and welcome back for another sewing tutorial. I know I've been sewing like crazy, but I did just get a brand new sewing machine. So today we're making dinosaur tails. And the first thing you're going to need is 2 different color fabrics and some Velcro. Now I used a orange and white polka dot and green as the spikes, but you can use any combination you like. So this is a very simple pattern. I found it on Pinterest. And all you do is you cut a rectangle at 22 by 11 inches and you measure in 3.5 inches on either side on one end. And then you basically draw a line from that to 4 inches up the other side of the rectangle. And then you have some sort of a triangle with a tip cut off, sort of. Anyways, and then you are going to need a 12-inch by 3-inch piece and then a 7-inch diameter circle. So if you don't already have a protractor on hand, then you can just take a 7-inch by 7-inch square, fold it into quarters, and then just cut a curve on the one side. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut up my pieces. So for this large piece, you will need 2 of these pieces. And I might have made this clip a little long. So I do recommend getting the sew on Velcro if you're able to do that, only because if you have ever used there's a sticky back. I've never had success with sticky back. It always comes off eventually, and especially when you have children who will be ripping it off of them, it doesn't last very long. So I would recommend getting the sew on only. Also, if you do get a sticky back and decide that you're going to sew it, it gums up your needles and it's just a bad idea. So you're going to need 2 of the main body and you're going to need 4 pieces for the straps. So 4 of the 12 by 3 inch and then 1 circle. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure out my piece of Velcro. So I cut about 4 inches and I made it nice and generous just because then it's just going to last longer. So my son or daughter, my son who's almost 2 can wear it and my daughter who's 3 can wear it. So now I'm going to do the spikes. Now I've done a few different ways, but this is the easiest way that I found. And it actually uses up less fabric. So I just cut a strip about 3 inches and then I will just cut some triangles. And because I'm cutting them this way, then I literally do not waste any fabric. So it depends on how big you make your triangles as to how many you will need for your tail, but I just cut a bunch and then I just fit them on as I go. This tail in particular only took 6, so I did cut 7, but I know that I'm going to use it for the next tail. No big deal. It's just a very small piece of fabric anyways. So all you're going to do is sew 2 sides of the triangle. And then you are going to just snip the tip of it and then flip it right side out. So I'll just show you how I do that. And the reason why you will snip the tip is just so that when you do flip it right side out, then it will reduce the bulk in that corner and it will have a nice pretty point. So basically you're just going to do this for all of your spikes. I'm not going to show you every single one just because, you know, it's just mundane and you get the idea. And also, I'm a little bit tired. It's about 12:40 in the morning, so my voice sounds a little froggy. So now I'm going to put my spikes onto the main tail. Tail? Yes. And so I'm going to lay them on the right side of my polka dot fabric. And it doesn't matter which side, which edge, because that piece is symmetrical. Whatever side you want to put the spikes on, it doesn't matter. So you're just going to line them all the way down. And at the end, I started putting these spikes not as like a kind of, if you can see that at the end there, they're like kind of sticking out a little bit. It's just so that as it goes down, the spikes gradually get a little bit smaller. And then after, once I've sewn it, then I just cut off the excess of the triangles. So of course you're going to want to make sure you pin this, because it will be a lot more difficult to sew with all these, triangles flying around. I don't really like to use pins, only because I have a cat who is crazy, and I took out 4 pins the other day, and she decided that she wanted to she literally pulled all 4 of them out of the pin cushion. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, cats, like, they'll eat them, But anyways, so I did show that I will on one side leave a little, like a 4-inch gap, and that will be left there for when I flip the whole tail right side out. So I'm just going to sew on either side. Here I leave my gap, and then at the tip of the tail. And then you don't sew at the top, because that's where we're going to put the circle. So now I'm just cutting off the excess triangles, and now I'm going to work on the straps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Velcro on first. You can put it on last, but then of course you will see the seams on the other side, and it looks a lot more professional and a lot neater if you just do it beforehand. So I'm just going to sew on all 4 corners of my Velcro strip, and I do that on both sides. And now I'm going to, and by both sides I mean both pieces. So when I go to do the next strip, you do the same thing. Anyways, so now I'm just going to finish off the strip by putting the other piece of fabric on top. So right sides together, and then you can sew along all 3 sides. You don't have to do the 4th side, only because it's going to be sewn inside the tail, so you're not going to see that. And then after that, I'm just going to snip the corners to reduce the bulk, and then flip it right side out. And then I will do a top stitch on all 3 sides again, or as well, just to make it look a little bit more neater. And makes it look like you know what you're doing. I do about 1/4 of an inch seam here. And when you're turning your fabric on the corner, always make sure that your needle is down, because it makes things a lot more easier. Okay, so this is where things get confusing. So take your tail and lay it like I've done. Then take your strip and fold down the top piece of fabric and stick that strip on top with the Velcro facing up. You're going to sew along that edge, and the only reason why you're sewing it on is just so that when you go to sew your circle on later, it's a lot easier. So I've already sewn it on, I just didn't show you, and I'm going to tuck that strip inside the tail. Then I'm going to flip the whole entire tail over. I'm going to do the same thing with the other strip, but instead of having the Velcro facing up, turn it upside down. And this is what you need to do so that when you go to flip your whole entire tail, your straps, or your whatever they're called, will be the right way. Because if not, and you go and you finish it all and you flip it right side out, then I don't know, something happens, and then the strips won't be right, and they won't go, so then you have to take it apart, and it's just going to be a whole mess. Anyways, so now at the end of your tail, you are going to put your circle on. So you're just going to very carefully take your fabric and line it up with the circle and pin all the way around, because unless you're a super pro, I am not, then you're going to want to do this. So just see how beautiful. And then I'm going to sew all the way around the whole entire circle. A little bit tricky, but it can be done. And I have like this like phobia of like needles flying in my face, so I always take the needles out as I go. Some people like to keep them in. My mom, she's she's crazy. She leaves them in. I mean, I know that they can be, but whatever. So now I'm going to flip the whole entire tail right side out, and that's basically all you need to do for the majority of the tail. Now you're just going to stuff your tail with some polyester fiber fill. Got some at Walmart. You can get it, Fabricland or Joann's or wherever. And I don't like to make it too firm, so I just try to like get it in there and make it all nice and fluffy. And then you are going to sew up your seam there. You can do it with your sewing machine, but if you're like me and you don't like that seam, you can always do an invisible stitch. And if you know how to do an invisible stitch, you can go ahead and do that. If not, I did make a separate video because I didn't want this video to go too long. And you can refer to that video to watch me do an invisible stitch and sew up that hole. So that's basically everything for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I would love to see if you make any dinosaur tails for your little ones. This is a wonderful Christmas gift, and I can't wait to give these tails to the little boys and girls in my life because it's going to be so adorable. Anyways, so thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!